Hello, everyone. My name is George, and today we are going to look a bit together on what do we mean by Agile. When we look together at this, is it a methodology? Is it a process? Is it a framework? Is it something that people bring to life? Is it something that has its strength in methodologies and ceremonies and artifacts? It's my first time in Tallinn. Quite good time of the year, I understand, in November. Not too much snow, not too much, but it was a warm evening yesterday, I understand. Not my first time at Topconf. Quite a great conference. Great to see such a good crowd in here. So let's check out together a bit when we see Agile. Let's look at a bit of a statistic. So if we just go on Google and click on Agile and do a search and click on images because we are a bit lazy on this one. How do we perceive Agile? So this is all of us searching on Google, all of us introducing something, all of the tags that everyone in the world has in there, because who can beat Google stats on this one? So this is what we find out. This is our collective view on Agile. It's a bit of this process, something with there, we go overhead, some packages in there, results in some yellow stuff with some blue stuff. It's a bit of word clouds, and we have words there, team, backlog, product, sprint, all of that. It's a bit about visualization on something called an Agile Manifesto, with some people there, with some Agile thinking, all of that stuff. It's an elephant on a ball. He does something there, probably balancing. Interesting. It is something around steps and repeating things, all sorts of different stuff. So let's do this. If we feel that some of the pictures have to do with people enacting something in Agile, let's mark this with a green. If it's something around the process, let's do that purple. And if it's in between, almost like people and process, like the interactions in between, then that will be the amber stuff. So let's check it a bit. So if I check a bit something around the people, I have here something called like types of Agile teams and behaviors to avoid. I have something like here, an Agile mind, and some of the key things that I have to think about when I'm in Agile. I have this guy here that does something with this laptop. Probably something Agile, I don't know exactly, but does something with his laptop. I have something here on the corner calling out that being Agile as a mindset is a bit more important than everything else. I have a few of those. If I check something in the middle, I have this word clouds that kind of say, teams, interactions, backlog, sprints. So it's like a process plus some interactions. Agile development, software change, a bit around this part. A few of those interactions here. I have also the Agile Manifesto that points out a few of the things that you do with people, but also with processes. Okay. Oh. So when I check it out, a lot of this stuff, it's about the process. Process, iterations here, Scrum depiction here, the steps in here, another process there. Let me do a short sort of a stat for you on this one. So if people are green, process is purple, and interactions are in the middle, then our common representation of the Agile world, it's 65% process. Process is king. Whenever we look on all of this stuff, we seem to talk a lot about the process. Focus on those ceremonies, roles, and artifacts. Somewhere in the middle, like sort of a 20-something%. And people, it's a shy 13% in there. It's just, are we forgetting something maybe? Yes, tiny bit. So, what is Agile in between all of those circles and cycles and word clouds and all of that? Is this something Agile? It's like a circle of learning. Something like this. We seem to do something, do it again, do something, do it again. Something like this, and we go in and we deliver something. We create these burn-down charts, and we are happy at the end with some work in the beginning. Are all of these words Agile? It's like product team, Scrum, backlog, owner, products, completes, all of that. So if we look at the Agile Manifesto, when it all started, 20-something years ago, it's like they've stated a few things in there. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, responding to change over following a plan, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. What are these? These feel to be more like values and principles. They were starting with this kind of stating values and principles. Interesting? This is kind of the simplest way of one picture describing Scrum. So is this Agile? What is this? It's like a product owner that has input from all of the customer team exec managers. He owns this product backlog, which is a prioritized list of everything that we should do. He works with the team. He expresses what's in the backlog. The team takes those top items. They break it down. They start working on them. In a cadence, they do the sprints, 1 to 4 weeks. Every day they meet up, they tell the product owner and the Scrum Master what they've done, what they're going to do tomorrow if they have some problems. They project where they think they are through this burn down. And at the end of everything, that iteration, they give the product owner the finished work. And they do a review and see where they go with the product. And they talk about what happened in a retrospective. This is more about a methodology. It's about like roles, ceremonies, artifacts, all of that. So let me give you my favorite definition of Agile. Agile is a collection of values, principles, and processes that encourages a certain type of behavior. A focus on value generation and collaboration. Values, principles, and processes. Okay, so let's check a bit where we step this up, where we take it to more people doing Agile. How many of you have seen this picture? What does this represent? Scrum, someone says. So this is kind of the simplest way. I think it came out in some of Mike initial blogs, and kind of he said, well, when we have multiple teams working on the same backlog, how do we organize this? How do we make it work? And this is, when you scale it up, this is kind of the simplest way. And the method is focused all about the people. So it's kind of say, well, we have this blue teams, and the blue teams are working on a part of the backlog. When they have interaction and something to work on, they designate a bunch of people. They kind of say, oh, you are the guys to talk about our interactions. And they do a scrum of scrums. They come together. Some guys from here, here, and here. They come together and they talk a bit about what they have to integrate. They emerge with a plan, with some problems, impediments, and they go ahead. The same with the red team, the same with the green team. They have their own scrum of scrums. And if they want to kind of work together on the bigger product, then they do a scrum of scrums, and they get a guy and a lady from each of these teams, and they come together in this team, and they kind of talk a bit about this. So if you check this out as a method, it has nothing to do with any process, any rule. How do I select these guys? Is this something who needs to be there? It's just some people that will come together based on that simple rule. They are the most appropriate to talk about the integration problems. Okay, they are the most appropriate. So nothing of more than this. It's just people that are appropriate to talk about the integration, and they talk in 1 or 2 levels, and they agree how this works. Pretty much scaling based on who the people are in there. Now let me show you another example of the scaling, how others have sorted out this problem. Do you remember this picture? Who's seen this one? A few hands in there? Okay. So this is called SAFE, Scale Agile Framework, and I use this 3.0 picture because it's a bit more colorful. Now these days they have a 4.0 version out. So you see a bit of a difference in here. So this is all people in a few boxes. Look a bit at this. It's like, okay, what's with this smallish thing is here? What's all of this? Oh, they have levels now. Okay, so what are the levels? We have a portfolio level there. We have a program level and a team level. Okay. So portfolio level, we have strategic teams at the company level. We have epic owners and enterprise architects. They work in a Kanban mode. These guys are owning value streams and big epics around our product. These guys are owning architectural enablers. They create a big backlog, and they map it over our budget in our stream. We create these agile release trains, and then each of the trains goes to a program. Inside the program, we have a release management team with product management. They own the vision and the roadmap. They take on those epics and the architectural enablers, they break it down, and they kind of give it in a cadence to multiple teams that are working here. Okay, seems to be significantly more comprehensive. This no longer is about who is the right people to come in there and this is about, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20-ish roles. I'm not going to bother counting all of the artifacts. There are about 50 different artifacts and things in there. So these guys have looked at the scaling problem and they said, we need a process to make this work. This seems very complicated. You guys have a lot of work to do in your company. So I'm going to figure out a way to do a repeatable process to sort out this problem of scaling. You have too many teams. So these guys have put together a way of scaling, which is a lot about the process, a lot about what do I need to produce, how do I need to talk with the other guys. Let me show you another example. This is one of my favorite examples, and this is scaling from another angle. It's called LESS, Large-Scale Scrum is Scrum. And this is scaling that is based on interactions. So they do have a sort of an overarching process in there. Yes, you have multiple teams in here. You have a chief product owner, and you have area product owners for your individual project. You have a synchronization. All of the sprints are in cadence in there. You do your sprint planning together, all of the teams with the chief product owners and area product owners. Then each of the teams does their own planning together. They go on in cadence. If they need to synchronize it, one or two of these areas, they do at different points. Otherwise, they all come together as a big product, and they kind of do an integration and the review retrospective all together, and then they start the next sprint, all of them in cadence. And yes, it's an overarching process. It's not that complicated. We don't have portfolio level, team level, all of that part. But what they focus a lot on is like how we should think to make this work. It's like what's our structure in there? How do we have feature teams? What's our level of organization? How do we create communities of practices? How do we include technical excellence in here? What's our product ownership looking like? What's our requirement area? How do we split on this part? What are the role of managers? How can I enable an organization look like this? What are the guiding principles around this? So they look at this overarching process, and they look about the people, and they kind of say, how do I make the people work with this process? How do I make them understand? How do I balance this? How do I achieve almost like something that connects the process and how the people are thinking in there? And these are all maybe traits, characteristics of human behavior, all of them. How do we work better one with another? How do we integrate in some of that? So interesting approach in here. So getting back to the definition, Agile is a collection of values and principles and processes. So all of that together. But the end goal is not, we just gather around here to do Agile. How do we create value? What's that value for that? And the core of us creating value is through collaboration. So let me tell you a story. We are in 1940s in Polynesia. And we are at the end of the Second World War. And the Americans have a little bit of a problem with the Japanese. So they are winning on all fronts in Germany and Europe. But the Japanese just not surrender. So what they need to do is kind of get closer to them and bring the war a bit closer. So they create a bunch of bases in the islands, closer and closer to Japan to kind of, in a way or another, win the war. So what happens? We are at this stage in which these guys are very little aware of any technological advances. They are living peacefully in their islands. They know pretty much nothing about technology. And they are just, fishing and picking up bananas and the likes of that. So Americans come through on their island and they put together a base. And, they put landing strips and airplanes, and they start listening to music, and they bring on chocolate, and they kind of put stoves on, and they turn on, things like coffee and tea and sugar and all of that stuff. And these guys are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Chocolate is so sweet, it's great. And it begins to trade with them, and they see some of these advancements of the modern age, and of course they like it. Well, after a while, not so many years, the Americans win the war, and they just shove off and go home. And these guys, slowly and certainly, lose the advantages of this modern life. They kind of go, okay, no more chocolate, no more music, no more all of that. And they kind of go, I want some more chocolate. So what happened, and this is an historical example, it actually happened, I'm not making this up. They started looking, so let me break this down. What happened? These guys came through. They built this long road. Some airplanes landed on this road. Then they had these cemeteries, and they put some crosses in there. They were painting them in red and black. Okay. What else? We had this very large roads on the road. Okay, good. So let's do that. I mean, we'll do that, and equals chocolate. So that's what they did. They actually put together airplanes out of just trees and all that. They created these crosses and then they just sat down. Okay, we did all of that. Chocolate. Where is the chocolate? It's like no chocolate. So this is actually called the cargo cult. It's people that were trying to imitate a process. People that were looking at something, they didn't understand what makes it tick. They just saw 7, 6 things. They did all of that, and they expected the end results, and they were like, no chocolate. Damn it, what's going on? So pretty much, I think a bit of this is going on. If we think about this almost like an iceberg, process is the part that we see, is that Scrum thing, is that all of the images that I've showed on Google. All of us can see that. It's there. It's like we have the ceremonies, we have the roles, we have every little thing in there. They are all there. They're clear. We can all see them. Process is easy to imitate. You just look at it, and you go on and kind of, we'll have a stand-up. Super, we'll have a stand-up. All of us sit in front of the table. I need to answer 3 questions. 15 minutes, that's fine. Job done. However, are we understanding why are we doing that? What is that about? The values, those principles that I was going on about in there. Those are harder to embody. And please be mindful of the word that I'm using. It's not just understand, it's embody. You need actually to act in a certain way in this agile environment. It's just not just listening to the words. When we do the stand-up, you just don't go in there bored and kind of like, okay, so I need to answer 3 questions. I'm out of here. I can do my little coding on the side, or I can watch a movie or something. You're actually part of a team. You are in there to do a joint planning and have an opportunity to spot what are some of the key things that other people in the teams might interfere with you, or you can help them, or the problems that they have. Now, if you are just bored and sit there, then you're doing this. You're imitating a process, and whatever the process, the more complex it is, the less actually accurate your end results will be. It's just like these guys with all of this, because the process was so complex. They were doing part of it. The airplane looks a bit like an airplane. Of course, it has a bunch of other things that they're missing inside. Now, some people focus their entire energy on this, on the process, on all of that. Some people focus their entire energy on this, on being agile. What does it take? What do I do? What do I behave on? My plea to all of you is that we actually need both. We can't have one without the other. It's the intersection of them that makes this agile world great. You have an overarching process that gives you the predictability, and you have people that are guided by those values and principles. And at the intersection of it, you get this productivity. You get this way of working that really focuses on that value. We need both of these things. Not long ago, in 1910, there was a guy called Frederick Taylor. And he wrote something called The Scientific Principles of Management. And unfortunately, this has kind of driven also a bit of how our industry works. This has driven all of the Industrial Revolution. And pretty much Mr. Taylor kind of looked at stuff and said, okay, workers are lazy. They don't know the best way to do things. We need to give them a concrete approach, process. We need to take that process, break it down in steps, and train each individual worker in some of the steps in there. They need to execute that step. We need to understand how success is looking for that step and how failure is looking for that step. Monitor that step constantly. Reward the ones that are doing good. Punish the ones that are doing bad. All of the process is defined by managers. We'll look at the people that are trained to do this scientific approach. We put down all that process in place. We share it with everyone. Here is the process. We train everyone and go. So to a point, if you're thinking a bit about our industry and what we're doing with software development, we are a bit like that. We are a bit like that. We are developers. We are testers. We are architects. We are solution architects. No, we are enterprise architects. No, we are systems architects. I've known a bunch of companies, including the one that I work in, that have all of these roles segregated. I'm not just an architect. I'm an architect that watches the solutions from here. Okay. I'm an architect that looks at the components of the solutions and how they integrate. I'm a system architect. I'm a solution architect. I take one of those components and I create it and I work on it. It's not bad if you think about the specialty. The specialty is really good. You should cherish, and we should all cherish the specialty. I'm really a great guy at understanding how this comes together. The problem is with this thinking that I am responsible for my step. I am responsible for the zone in here, and I'm focusing all my energy and my success on that step. It's like, excellent. I'm taking this bet. I'm working on it. I take it to completion. I've abided to all of the rules here, to the templates that my company put into place, to the TOGAF rules that the enterprise architecture body of knowledge has emitted. I have done all of that. I am presenting the developers with my solutions, and this is my success. I'm a great architect, I'm finished, and my step is successful. And kind of the developers go, yeah, but you know, it's harder for me to do this because that module is not super tested, and I could use a bit of help of understanding some of that. And you know, it's not as easy for all of us to work in. And it's just, am I missing something? Am I working together with these guys? One of the key things that is happening more and more on this one is something that Drucker kind of put together. Is they find more and more these knowledge workers. Instead of just focusing on the steps, not the specialties, but the steps, defining success in your step, having no separation in between those who think and those who do, having no separation in between the layers, creating a cross-functional team of people that are owning not steps of the process, that cannot define success and cherish that success because they executed step 32 and created template 47. But focusing that group on the end value. What are we trying to build? And that group together owns that end value, and they're focusing together on delivering it. Sometimes the architect has more work to do on that part. Excellent. We cherish that specialty. He helps us a lot. Sometimes the developers have some more work to do. Sometimes the testers are doing something amazing with a new automation framework, and we need to focus all of us to help them on doing that. The main focus is that there is a group that owns together this. And not only that, they are creative problem solvers. They can look a bit, and if the process kind of stands in the way, if we see that template 42, it's actually not helping us in here, they can kind of go, okay, Mr. Architect, you know what? This is not helping me. Let's change that a bit. Let's do something that works for our end goal. So my definition to this is that actually people are building and bringing the process to life. It's not the other way around. It's not the process exists there for the people to follow it. And it's not some managers are building the process for the people to follow it. The people are building and especially bringing the process to life. If the process doesn't work anymore, then the people will do something else because they focus on that end goal. They focus on that end value. And it's not about killing all of the specialties. No more developers, no more testers, no more, we are all just one. We are a team together. No, the specialties are amazing, are great. The steps in the process and the success are the one that kind of get a bit in the way. So if I'm to kind of depict all of this in a picture, it's like this is my view of the Agile world. We have a base here, and the base is all about the people. The base is how people should work on it. And you've seen these values. There's nothing amazingly new in that. But that's the base, the people. Focus, openness, commitment, courage, respect. How they behave in this. And it's all about having a solid base. The people that are looking at this Agile world and going there. Then it's a bit about what holds the house up. Is these pillars of it. And these are more, if you think about this, about an organization. So we need to have an environment in which these things work. We have enough transparency, we do adapt, and we do inspect quite a lot. And this is about how our management looks like, how our organization looks like, how our process is in there, how can we actually enact some of these. And these are holding all the house together. This is where we work, so to speak. All our goal, all our focus should be value. What can we do together as a group that owns something to create that value? And not just value, no, not just value after 6 months, value after 3 months. How do we create a consistent workflow of value? How do we get that value out there in a consistent, very concrete manner? And how do we behave in our house? We collaborate, we work together, and we are always striving to adapt a bit the process, this continuous improvement bit. And these are no small words. This is exactly what drives this behavior. We have a process. However, if the process is no longer fit for what we are doing together, for that value, we have not just the ability, we have the mandate of the organization, and we have the mandate of our Agile ways of doing things to adapt it and to change it. And this microphone, here we go. Take it a bit away. So, if we're looking at this Agile Manifesto, and this is something that kind of happened 20-something years ago, let's check a bit some of the 12 principles in there. So they said something like customer satisfaction through early continuous delivery. And let's do the same thing here. It's like if it's something related to people more, then it's green. If it's something related to process, then it's purple. And if it's something about interaction in the middle, is this amberish thing. So customer satisfaction through early and continuous delivery, that's a bit more about the process than anything else. It's a bit more about how we work, how we engage together, how we are interacting, and all of that stuff. Deliver working software frequently. Again, a bit more about the process than anything else. It's what enables us to do this. All of the techniques, including technical excellence ones, continuous delivery, and all of that part, that enable us to do this bit. Progress means working software. Again, a bit about the process and how exactly are we showing this, how we are using the working software as a driver to show the progress. Sustainable development, this is a bit more about the interactions. It's how we as a team are working together. It's how that is that healthy pace, the balance in between our way of working and the strenuous and taxing nature of our industry. Sometimes after 7 sprints, if you're not having a sustainable pace, you feel drained a bit of the energy. Daily interactions between everyone. This is a bit about the process because we have all of those ceremonies and the way of interaction, but also about the people. We are taking this vow of kind of working together one with another and how that looks like. Face-to-face conversation, now this is significantly more about people and how that way of working, it's always complemented by the fact that we are humans, and humans react to emotions as well as they react to information and facts. So face-to-face helps a lot with that. Self-organizing teams. This is significantly about how a team of people can work together and understand what actually they need to do to improve. Changing the process, changing some of the roles, changing the way that they work. So it's all about that team of people and how they act as a group, as almost like a living organism. Support motivated individuals, a lot also about the people. Constant reflection and adaptation. This is a bit about the process and all of those ceremonies and that part that goes with interacting and the people that are working on this. Strive for technical excellence and good design. It is the mindset, but also the processes for that. Art of simplicity. This is a bit more about those backlog management techniques and queuing and the Kanban techniques of the life. It's a bit more about the process. Welcome changing requirements. This is about the interaction, but also about how people kind of accept that change constant. So my contention to you is like to look a bit about these principles. When we kind of accepted this Agile Manifesto as a guiding source for this Agile movement, it's actually, the manifesto itself is fairly balanced. They've looked at the process side of things, they looked at the people side of things, and the interactions in there. However, it seems that over the years, we as practitioners have focused more and more on the process side of things than on the interaction. So what I wanted to remind you and leave you with is this one. Agile is values and principles, but also process. And we're not doing this for the sake of it. We want to build value, and we want to do this by collaborating. So this is my way of kind of transmitting that. Agile, it's about almost like a mathematical equation, people times process. And if either of the sides goes to zero, the end result kind of goes to zero. If you have very little motivated people and people that are not kind of believing and enacting those Agile values, you can have the best process in the world. All of those inspection and adaptation routine, all of the ceremonies that you do will provide very low results. If you focus a lot on the process and you take it to extreme and it's very, very prescriptive, you lose slowly and certainly the motivation of people. And they will go to zero, and again, you will start to fail or be less optimal in this. Now, if you let the process very loose and you have a lot of great people in there, you'll start to need more and more heroes to succeed. You'll start to need people that are really doing amazing things to get that predictability into place. So if each of these sides is ignored and goes to an extreme, we still get unoptimal results. Balance is the key. Thank you very much.